Welcome to the Career Secrets Channel, expert interview series. I'm your host, Professor Edmund Young. What are the best paying jobs? How can I make more money? How do I get a raise? Where are all the career opportunities? How can I increase my income? How to do well in a job interview? Is it all about money, money, money? Introducing my good friend, Cameron Cuthbert. He's an enterprise software expert, senior sales consulting manager, and now a sales executive in a software company. He certainly can talk about an industry with really good compensation. Cam, I was looking at your LinkedIn profile. I have one comment. Wow. Cam has worked with warehouse management, RFID, order management, purchasing, configurator, iLearning, discrete manufacturing, and also process manufacturing, right?
Correct.
Advanced planning and scheduling and strategic network optimization, enterprise resource planning, CRM, human capital management, value chain planning, enterprise performance management. Have I missed anything? Yeah.
No, all good.
How many? Impressive. How many years have you done this?
Oh gosh, you asked the tough question right out of the gate. So start from graduating from school in 1994 up to now. So
Wow.
yeah. So
Cam and I worked for one of the biggest software companies in the world. Welcome, Cam. And thanks for supporting me over the years. And thanks for joining me today and giving back.
thanks, Evan.
Could you please talk about your career journey?
Gosh, well, like I was saying, it started right out of university, and if sitting here now with you, it's like being under in the turbine shafts under Niagara Falls with welding and cutting systems, right through to seeing how the underpinnings of Disney works in the logistics tunnels, and it's been pretty wild. It's been a wild ride right across from a discrete manufacturing vendor with ESOB welding and cutting products, over to Oracle and software, and now with UKG. There's been and a few other stops in between, but yeah, it's been a wonderful ride.
Wow, again. You work with so many different systems, apart from human resources system, obviously you do that. What's your favorite and why?
There's so many, but I think I really loved the configurator for one, and also the advanced planning and scheduling, just the complexity and how things are put together and built and how that transfers over into manufacturing. It's just a lot of fun.
Let me ask you a funny question. Is there more money in that more sophistication?
Not necessarily, but definitely in software over discrete, definitely more opportunity.
Got it. Is there a particular industry that you like the most? You've seen so many.
No, and that's one of the nice things about being in sales is sometimes you get to see so many in so many different industries. Currently, I'm doing a lot in the mining industry, and we were just discussing it before, but I really have enjoyed digging into the details of mining and the nuances around it. But going in tomorrow, and I'm inside a legal firm, so it's like it just changes day to day, and that's part of the excitement and the fun of sales.
Good for you. For people who are career-minded, what can you tell us about Applicant Tracking System, ATS, and what should candidates be careful about?
Yeah, so from a customer perspective, and we have our the recruiting system within UKG, but for ATSs in general, they're fabulous for businesses. Would they automate things? They make things a lot easier. They streamline candidates, and they can really make the whole process of all that giant applicant pool and narrowing it down, which is wonderful. However, you just have to be aware that keywords are very important. And you also have to shorten up your answers, but have it succinct, so that especially like now where we're at, where AI is playing a much bigger role and it's doing a lot of the upfront work, and this is also for the companies too, where potentially good candidates can be eliminated if they're not being very careful about how they're wording it. The other thing I would warn as an applicant, it's very easy to apply to a whole bunch of different companies, and you have your generic resume. But I would treat everyone. I know, Edmund, this is one of the things I really learned from you. I know we're talking about mentors later, but I really learned that the detail is so important, and knowing your customer or knowing where you want to work. So if you're going out and building your resume or adding it to an applicant tracking system, the more you know and the more detailed. So if you can use words that they understand and they know, it'll be a much greater chance of you getting through. If you just put in and you have your ATS setup and you just say, here it is, and you apply it to like 7 different companies, expect that result, right? You're not being specific, and you're not getting that detail that's required.
Is there a particular format? I heard that for some systems, they don't do well with PDF files.
Yeah, so and it really depends. I think they're becoming more and more open as time goes on, and especially this is where AI is really taking a role, where before you had to have a certain format or you'd have to put it in and it would parse it up. Now you just, on a lot of the systems, you're just putting in your resume and it's picking out what it thinks is important. And this is also where, it's nice to have a very creative resume and put it in, but sometimes in these systems, you could have 2. You could have the one that you bring in when you talk to the person, but then have the one for the ATS that makes it very easy for the system to read. They usually will give pretty specific instructions on when you're adding a resume.
Excellent. Next question. Think about the biggest or the most memorable deals in your career. How did you make sure that it was a success?
Yeah, this goes in, it takes you down memory lane it makes you think about how many there were. And I think that's the exciting thing is there's so many to choose from, and the mind goes to all the different deals. So when I'm trying to be generic and say, what was the common thread of the big wins? And I would say we dug in and we really knew the details. Like, we knew everything about the customer. We were working hand in hand with them. We did really good discovery. And I think also in the process and in that hard work, we also had a lot of fun. So I think the ones that were memorable and resonated, they had a theme to win. We had, and sometimes it was totally silly and irrelevant, and sometimes it was very focused, but there was a theme to win. There was a reason, and we were connecting the dots on what the customer's pain was and solving a problem for them with whatever solution we had. And I think that's the common thread with the big wins. And conversely, I think of the losses, and if I go back and even more recent ones, and I can be like, you know what? I wasn't detailed enough, or I didn't pay enough attention. So it's still current today as it was 30 years ago on paying attention to the detail and really, really paying attention and not letting up and taking anything for granted as in any sales cycle. Until as you know, until it's signed, you haven't won the deal.
Excellent. I like that. The thing that you also talk about was the fun that you have. So I suspect, well, I don't suspect, I think there must be some good rapport building in the cycle.
Oh yeah, definitely. And even in the more, we work together on enterprise software level, and the bigger the enterprise and the bigger the software, it's the same thing that a smaller deal with a smaller company may be, but you have to work with people hand in hand. So it's very, I like to make the simile that it's like a football team or a football field, and you have your people on the sideline and the different players doing different things, and you have to respond to how the customer reacts, but also how your competition reacts. So it's a fun game.
Excellent. You spent so many years in pre-sales and moved into management. What made you decide to move into sales or back into sales?
I think it's I like to say opportunity, but it's the opportunity to make more money. I think it was I remember having a conversation in the halls of Oracle, and I think you were there, and Ann Polsinelli was there, and Andy Solti, and we were talking about the differences and saying, and you said, Cam, you should get into sales. and we were making a joke saying it was sales is like the stock market, and being a sales consultant is more like having bonds, where you get your continuous paycheck and maybe a little bonus every now and then. But as a sales rep, you can make big money, but you can lose big money as well, or because you have to perform to make your money. So yeah, differences, but the opportunity is just so much greater in sales.
Well, especially for you, because of your background, I think it's just life, I think, is probably, I shouldn't say easy, but it's more enjoyable, because I used to work in marketing, and I found that my prior experience helped me so much in my sales career. You must be enjoying your success with such a strong background in enterprise system. How did you find the transition?
Yeah, I found the transition pretty easy, and not pretty easy, because if you talk to my managers and all that, I think there's things that you fall down on where, especially with me, is I want to I want to go into those details sometimes, probably too much. I want to understand the system more than I would need to. You could say it's a fault in that you have to rise yourself up and let your team do a lot of the work. So it's really important to stay as a team player and be a leader with that, but not to get driven into the details where your sales engineers and all that, that's where you want to utilize them properly. But yeah, no, in terms of a transition, I think the only big difference really is with sales and sales consulting is the carrying a bag. So you've got a quota, you have to manage that. You are responsible. You are ultimately responsible. And I remember being in sales meetings as the sales consulting manager, watching the sales reps get grilled in their quarterly business reviews on why haven't you met your quota? Why, what are you doing? You are ultimately responsible for that. So now I'm that one in the hot seat. And I've been fortunate where I've, been cruising through with that, good performance numbers up to today. So it's been good conversations that way, but it is a hot seat in sales to
Yes.
perform.
Good for you, and great analogy with the bond and everything. Appreciate that, and congratulations on your good performances. What do you do for networking?
I try, and again, this is part of being as a sales exec. I think it's important to network all the time. So I try and spend a little bit of time every single morning. LinkedIn, I look out, I look at my prospects, I look at pulse of the market, but then I try and see who they're connected with, and it's friends, family, who they would know, who I've worked with in the past, and just try to make some of those links and connections, because you never know where that's going to lead. And ironically, I was at a conference last year, ended up speaking to a customer, and she was like, "We don't use your system. I have nothing to do with it. Like, I don't even know why I'm here basically talking to you." And I'm like, let's just get to know each other. We had a drink, nice little conversation. Turns out now, she just changed jobs, and I'm connecting with her. She is my customer now, and we already have that connection and started in it. So you never know where these links conversations, little conversations can go. And already, we've had a great start to our, customer sales rep relationship just because we met last year. So
incredible story. I was just sharing with my students about the informal references. That's why we need to have a good brand, a personal brand for ourselves. So I hope they're learning. I think they're learning. What motivates you the most over the years?
Yeah, and this is where I don't want to sound like I'm I'd have to say money. Like money is a big motivator. But there's a lot of stuff around that. And if money was the sole motivation, I don't think I would be where I am, and with the people around me. So I think it's money is a motivator. The chance to compete and the winning as a team, and seeing people around you succeed and making everyone succeed as a group. It's an exciting feeling. It's contagious, and it's what makes, getting out of bed every day. It makes it a lot of fun because you want to be part of that. And you, as a sales rep, you want to drive that. So.
Well said. I agree. So for me, is the winning. I like to win. And what do I like to win? I was telling my students I like to win it all, win everything. That's me.
I know, and even right now, it's like, we have these big giant enterprise sales, but sometimes I even just sell a time clock that goes up, like a punch clock that goes on the wall. And literally, even when a punch clock sales goes through, I'm like, yes.
I've been there, done that.
So,
what do you think are the top qualities you need to be successful? Number one, in sales, and number two, in sales engineering. So two-part question.
Yeah. So, and there's so many, and it's like when we were talking earlier, when sometimes in a career you end up overlooking the obvious. So there's obvious things like communication skills, friendliness, ethics. Like they're almost table stakes as you go through. The thing there where I've seen people, and part of what I look for too is the curiosity. So I think just a general curiosity, and I think of one of the things that I've seen with, and again, there's different types of sales reps. There are sales reps that are driven just on money. There are sales reps that are very analytical. There are, very different types. But the ones that I see that are constantly successful, and sales engineers that are successful, they're curious, and they want to know. So as a sales rep, I want to know my customer's pain, and I'm genuinely concerned. Like, I'm like, hey, like, what keeps you, like, what's bothering you? Like, and it may have nothing to do with the software that I do, but it's like all these little bits tied through, and it's genuine curiosity. As a sales engineer, how does that work? Like I got all this screen with all these buttons, and I can still remember back in the Oracle training classes, and I would drive the trainers nuts because they would want you to click through the sheet, and I'm like, what does this button do? And just start pressing buttons, and they're like, don't do that, and I'm like, no, but then like that's how you learn, and you get like, so that when you're in front of it, I'm super comfortable with the software because I've clicked every button, I know what those buttons do, so it's anyways, I digress.
No, that's a really good point. By the way, there's a book, and the authors had a slightly different unconventional model called the challenger model for sales reps. So they came up with 5 different types, and the challenger is probably you and me, the type who would lead the customer, challenge the customer, who lead the customer to new high, and talk about things that is over above the regular conversation. And I have to share that with you, maybe after that.
One of I think that's one of the best books I think I've read. It's the Challenger Sale, correct?
Yes,
yeah, excellent, absolutely. Yep, read it. It's that's excellent. I know there's a whole bunch. There's another book written by an author I think I'm talking to that's pretty good too.
Thank you. You've seen this, right?
I've seen that. Yeah.
That's the 3 awards and the 2 medals. Anyways, it's not about me. It's about you. When you were a hiring manager, what qualities were you looking for in a sales engineer?
Yeah, and definitely all those traits above. I think you want the table stakes of the communication, that they can handle this, the solution, that they know how to present, that they can problem solve. I think the hard part of selling it is, or of finding those candidates, is who can handle uncomfortable situations. Because as a sales engineer, sometimes you're put into challenging situations that the customer's upset or they don't understand you, and you have to sit back and explain it in a way that and handle that tough conversation. So that was part of the interview process where we went through a lot of extensive interviews to really find those type of candidates. And then in that, you start to see, are they constantly curious? How much do they like? I would love it when candidates, like, sometimes they would try to demo what they thought was our software. Like, they would put a picture up and they'd be demoing to it, and like, fabulous, like, extra effort. You're doing that detailed due diligence, right? So those are the type of candidates that I end up going further with. The
extra effort.
Extra effort, definitely. You can never go wrong with extra effort.
Because I have been talking about that all the time. Excellent. What challenging questions would you ask them?
I don't think I asked challenging questions was the funny part, but I got other people to. So I would have my other sales consultants, or I would bring in sales reps, and I would do multiple interviews. And I'd like to be in the room, but I'm not always asking the questions, but see how they react to them. One other kind of nasty thing I think I used to do, I would actually tell candidates I was going to do it. So I think they were sort of prepared, but I would have somebody kind of be like a bad cop and be mean to them, and just kind of see how they react to the, or a very challenging question in a way that, might throw you off. So on purpose, kind of unsettling, doing something unsettling in an interview that would cause you to react, and see how you react under the stress of the situation.
Throwing them off guard. I was going to ask you that.
Exactly. Yeah. But in terms of questions, I like to see more how things would flow in a conversation. I don't think I was tough in terms of interview questions per se, but there are colleagues of mine, and I know you, when like Dan Block, for instance, would ask questions that would just be like, I have a prism and there's these multiple, they'd be very deep thought-provoking questions, and then see how people problem solve and how they would react to those questions. So I would use somebody like that would ask an amazing question that I wouldn't. So in a way, I was a bit of a lazy interviewer that way, and got other people that, but I loved to see how the responses were. So
Dan is the smartest guy I know.
Oh, brilliant. I wish I was a sales rep under Dan. I wish I transitioned over and became a sales rep so I could have learned from him more.
He's a dream big boss. Big boss.
Yeah.
In his organization anyway. So we were blessed. I was blessed. What were the most impressive things that a candidate said to you?
You know, I think it goes back to the detail. Like when they almost caught me off guard because they either know something about our company or the solution or about me personally, and you can tell that they've done research on who's on the team already. You know, and asking, so at the end of the interview, it's not a, you know, do you have any questions for me? Nope, nope, that's good, fine, thanks. No, there's a thoughtful question there, but they know what they're asking, and it's not just to ask a smart question. It's because they're telling me and asking the question that they've done the research, but that they also want to know more. Like, hey, there's this person, this person, this person. You know, if I come on board, would they be potentially one of my mentors? Like
Wow.
something like that. And if you know who they are, like that would be like, okay, like, you know, this is somebody who I could see on the team, right?
Excellent. That's really, really good insight, Cam. Thank you so much. Because I think people can just learn from that. That's so invaluable. Do you have a mentor, and how did you find your mentor?
I have tons of mentors, and I think it's because you see so many people that you work with, and especially when you work with so many good people. You know, we talked about Dan. We talked like yourself for me when I was a sales consultant for you, and just the level of excellence that you required for me in the detail and how we came prepared. That type of mentorship, you don't like you just take advantage of it wherever you can, right? And so I don't think it's any just one mentor. I had mentors within my hockey career playing days. Now I'm a hockey referee, and I've got my mentor within that. So it's somebody that I think you can feel that you can call, you can ask upon, and maybe if giving back now and talking, you know, to younger people, really ask, and don't just ask it as a friend of that, but literally say, I want you to be my mentor. Would you be a mentor? And make it more of a formal pact, because I think if one thing I didn't do is ask that out directly, right? I would be just asking questions to almost like a friend, and that formal mentorship, you know, it evolved in some, very much so. My very first boss actually is still to this day, I still talk to him once every 4 months, I'd say. We chat, and it's literally a mentorship, so it's great.
Excellent. That's excellent tip. Thank you. What do you think is the best way to get into software or technology sales and sales engineering today?
Just dig in, network, find out someone who is. If you are interested, jump in. There's no wrong way to do this. My wife, she is a sales consulting manager for UKG. I think her last two hires, she has a teacher, and she has someone that came out like just totally unrelated to the software field, but they've got the characteristics to be either a great potential SC or a great addition. And there's no better time. I think this is one of those unique fields where you can have a lot of and be super, super technical, or you can not know it, but just have great personality and the desire to learn and be curious to become an expert in the field. So I think it's really just jumping in and making it just learn and connect with people. And we've seen the whole spectrum of it across the business. I've seen very technical people, and it's like there's different roles. Like you can be sales consultant, you can be sales, or you can just be IT. Yeah, I shouldn't say just. Like being IT and being in IT is very challenging and tough, but it's a very different personality type traits. And there's a job out there for you in the software field, software and hardware. There's tons of opportunity within the space.
Great advice. Thank you. You've seen so many world-class salespeople in action. What have been the most impressive moves you have seen by one salesperson or two pre-salesperson in your career?
You know what? I've seen so many great moves where you feel like, you know, the deal is lost and you're losing it, and then there's you stay up all night and the sales reps feeding coffee, and you come back, and then the sales rep pulls it back in or offers some terms, and so that's almost more. It's more common than you think so pulling out just one sales rep for that is not. I'm going to mention one, and I think you might even get a chuckle out of you here. There's one sales rep who when we have the customer conferences, and the customer goes for like a couple of days in Vegas or whatnot, and has and there's an agenda that they go to, or a track that the customer would go to, and then typically the sales reps would come down and meet them, or you take them out for dinner or something. And Ann Pulcinelli would make an entire binder for the customer that has not only the agenda for them, but where they are staying, what they eat for breakfast. Here's the breakfast menus. What rides and attractions you should go to. Here's your free time. This from the minute the plane would leave right through to the end, and she'd make up these individual binders for every single one customer that was going. So she'd have her big stack of binders, and to this day, I'm like, wow, like I wish I was that detailed. I'm not that detailed, but I just like that is just it's just that over the just wow factor. It's really great.
She's great. What is the most important piece of advice that you want to give to young people who are interested in a career in software?
Just I think I said it before. Just be curious, clicking, curious about people, and explore. And whatever your passion is, just dive into it. There's so much going on. I think AI is going to revolutionize the software industry. I think we've got massive changes coming ahead, and I think there's going to be opportunity there for people who you don't have to know how every little bit of it works, but you have to know how everyone relates to it. So there's opportunity there, and just if you're interested, jump in.
On that note, corporations are only hiring data scientists and software engineers and technical roles. How can someone get into the field of AI?
Exactly what I just said. Just reach out to others, connect in, and just there's courses online. If you are interested, say you're interested in becoming a sales consultant or a sales engineer. There's even, I think there's a LinkedIn free course out there that's, like how to be a sales engineer. The one book was Demo to Win was the one that I always said, like read Demo to Win, read Edmund's book if you want to be a sales rep. Like there is, and you can go even back to I picked up Zig Ziglar's Essence of Selling. I think it was like book from 1949, where I think was the first one when I was like, I think I'd be interested in sales. And that's the start. And then just, speak it to the universe, dig in, and things miraculously happen. So.
Excellent. If you were to do it all over again, what would you change in your career?
I don't think I'd change anything. I look at how I think everything happened for a reason. The day that I decided to move out of the welding and cutting system business and go for actually that day it was either a software or a pharmaceutical job. And ironically, the first company I was visiting was Oracle, and then I was going to go into Microsoft and then over to Pfizer because they were all close by. I walked in the door at Oracle, and I didn't leave there for 18 years. So, so it's just how it worked out that way. There's always going to be woulda, shoulda, couldas. Who knows? I could have been a doctor. But took the path I did, and I have no regrets at all. I'd love to do it all again.
Good for you, Cam.
I want to go back and get some of those losses and make them wins, though.
You're not very greedy, are you?
Yeah.
Okay, last question. Well, actually, if you want to comment more, feel free to. But sales consulting or sales? Which one?
They're both, and for different reasons. So, I love sales consulting. Like sales consulting, I got into a rhythm, and when you get into that rhythm, and there are people that have run their entire career out and been like, and you get your craft, and you just keep working on your craft. And then for me, I was working on my craft, and then I loved sharing that and helping others build their craft and watching the team build up. So for me, that was wonderful, and I love that. But I also really love sales. And I think sales is more, again, money-driven, opportunity-driven. You are in charge of your own destiny and what you do and how you make it. So that part is really exciting, and I'm really happy for that to be the last part of my career. So comparing sales consulting and sales, it's an apple and orange, both wonderful careers. I don't know. I love them both. I can't decide.
Excellent. Anything else you want to add?
Nope. I think that's wonderful. Thanks for doing this, Edmund, and thanks for giving back as well. I think it's just wonderful, and love to meet some of your students someday. So if they ever want to have a coffee chat, I'd be more than welcome, and would love to meet up in person again.
That will be wonderful. Cam, I need to thank you, and also your world-class team, each and every one of them, in helping me in my career. And they're just wonderful people, and thank you to your leadership. It's just a world-class organization, world-class individual. And I'm so thankful.
Yeah, it was, I can say as a sales consultant, it was wonderful working for you. I think I was part of that. I think that was, what was it? I'm trying to remember. You were 582% the 1 year.
No, 513.
Only 513. Yeah, yeah, only 513. Yeah,
Yeah, only 513.
Edmund, you're humble as well as amazing, but it was being part of that team as well. It just learning so much and being part of those wins, so much fun. So
thank you so much. This is Professor Edmund. Until next time, these are your career secrets.